As camping becomes more and more popular, more and more privatized, more and more corporatized, it's getting more and more expensive. And there's one fee in particular that's got a lot of people riled up. The fee to reserve a specific site, the dreaded site lock fee. If you haven't heard about it, you're going to hear about it here. This is RV Miles. Hey everybody, welcome back to RV Miles. A few days ago, we put out a call in the RV Miles Facebook group to hear about some of the fees that you've been charged at campgrounds and what you feel about them. We've actually done a whole episode on all the hidden fees and junk fees that you might encounter when you're booking a campsite over on the RV Miles podcast. You can find that over on its own dedicated YouTube channel or on any podcast app, wherever you get your podcast. But today we're going to talk about one in particular that has the most people really upset: the site lock fee. Comments like, "Site lock, nothing but a money grab. If it's available the day I select it, why would it not be available the day I arrive? Completely useless. Hate, double hate, and loathe entirely the site lock fee. I'll purposefully avoid all resorts like that. I think site lock is ridiculous. If I'm able to pick my site, it should be mine." Lots and lots of comments like that from people that are really incensed over this site lock fee. So today I want to talk about this fee a little bit because it actually is a little bit different than a lot of people think. And it can be something that is, in the end, a little beneficial for some customers. But I don't want you to think I'm entirely on the side of the corporations here. This is something that is marketed in a really deceptive way sometimes. And we're going to get into all of that. But first, what the heck is a site lock fee? Well, remember back in the day, just a few years ago, really, you were never able to pick an actual site at a commercial campground. You could maybe call up and request a specific site if you wanted to, but the idea of going on to a website and looking through a map of the site and selecting the site you want didn't really exist until just a few years ago. I remember when we started full-time RVing only 7 years ago, a lot of campgrounds didn't even have websites, or if they did, they were ancient websites. Some of them are still operating on those today. But over time, more and more reservation systems have been built, softwares that campgrounds can implement that allow them to manage their booking, to manage their website, to take call center calls, lots of different things. And one of the things those systems do is allow campgrounds to pile on the fees. But the other thing that they really allow is for campgrounds to offer the ability for folks to pick their site at a campground. That's something that people are really interested in. I used to run theaters and produce live events, and let me tell you, people really love to pick their seats. This is why all movie theaters now have the availability for you to pick your seat instead of you just showing up and grabbing a random seat. They found that they can make more money off of that because people are more interested in it. But there's a challenge there. If you have a 100-seat theater and you want to sell all 100 seats, well, guess what? When that theater starts to get close to sold out, you've got individual seats all over the house that nobody wants to grab because hardly anybody is going by themselves. That's sort of what happens at campgrounds when you choose a site. So imagine you're a very small campground owner. You have just 10 sites, and let's look at a 2-week period. When your reservations open for the season, people start booking those sites, and maybe they're congregating a little bit towards the weekends. People picking 2 nights here and 3 nights there, and then maybe somebody books a whole week. As these reservations start to fill up, it gets harder and harder for the next person to find a window of days that they can actually fit in a site. But if you weren't allowed to choose an individual site, that campground owner could move reservations around, allowing for larger open windows that are more easily filled. That allows for more people to actually visit the campground, and it brings in more money for the campground. So campgrounds actually benefit from not allowing you to pick a site. And this is why the vast majority of commercial campgrounds out there don't let you choose a site. But because some people do want to go into a specific site. They want to know where they're camping, or, maybe they go back to this campground every single year over Memorial Day weekend, and they always like to camp in this one site, and they like to call and ask specifically for that site. Well, now campgrounds have the ability to allow those folks to choose a site. In fact, they can allow everybody to choose a site, but they want to be able to move you in case they need to. You're still going to stay in the same category of site. So you had a 50 amp full hookup site, they're still going to put you in a 50 amp full hookup site. It just might not be the one you chose. But if you pay a site lock fee, you can guarantee that site. More in a moment, but first, this episode is sponsored by our friends at rvmattress.com by Brooklyn Bedding. They are such a great resource for getting odd-sized mattresses put into your RV, whether you've got the short king or queen or that king bed that's kind of slightly less wide that they put in RVs for some reason, different thicknesses so the slide can close over the top of them, or your cabinet doors. RVmattress.com has a lot of options for putting a new mattress into your RV, and we love them so much. We have them in both of our RVs and in our home because Brooklyn Bedding is a real mattress company that makes real mattresses. They're really good mattresses, and they have springs in them and everything, but are still shipped to you vacuum sealed through the mail, and you can get them even at campgrounds and install them into your RV. They have a 120-night sleep trial, a 10-year warranty. Their mattresses are made in Arizona. They're toxin-free, and everybody that has ordered one through rvmattress.com that we've talked to through our discount links has really, really loved them. If you go to rvmattress.com/rvmiles, you get 25% off with the code RVMiles at rvmattress.com/rvmiles with the code RVMiles to get 25% off to make your RV sleep much, much better. Don't sleep on the crappy mattress that came with your RV. It's not worth it. You spend a lot of money on the RV, spend a tiny bit more on a good mattress so that you can have a good night's sleep. Thanks to rvmattress.com by Brooklyn Bedding for sponsoring this content and for supporting our channel. So a lot of campgrounds will say they actually don't want you to pay the site lock fee. It makes it harder for them. It makes it so fewer people can actually use the campground. Here's a letter from one campground owner to their customers, Timberland Acres RV Park in Maine. Before we start taking reservations for 2023, I wanted to go over site lock fees and why we charge to lock a specific site number. Recently, I've had a few people scoff about the site lock fee while booking a reservation. I understand how an extra fee just seems like we're greedy, and maybe most don't understand how reservations work. When you book a reservation with us, we guarantee what you pay for. If you pay for a pull-through, full hookup site, that's what you're going to get when you arrive. What we don't guarantee is the site number. We charge a $30 one-time fee for you to lock in a specific site number. If you stayed with us before and have fallen in love with a specific site and you want to make sure that you have that same site next year, I would highly encourage you to pay the site lock fee. Or if you plan on coming in with a group of friends and you would like to be next to each other, I would also recommend locking in your site number. If you're just locking in a site because you want to make sure to get a pull through, don't feel like you need to pay the fee. We actually prefer people don't lock their site because it allows us more freedom to move people around our park to maximize the use of our sites. Do you remember the game Tetris? I play this game all day, making room for guests to come in and stay with us. If I can't shuffle people around to make room, I lose out on new reservations. And it goes on from there. But I found several blog posts from campgrounds similar to this that are trying to explain why they charge it and why they're not trying to scam you out of additional money. It's just there as a convenience. But those are the reasonable campground owners. Those are the ones that care about their customers. Those are the ones that aren't trying to just make a buck. And unfortunately, a lot of them are using the site lock fee to just rake in extra money. A website from one major campground management software company said that campgrounds are bringing in anywhere from 15 to 30% extra revenue by charging site lock fees. Now, isn't the idea that the site lock fee is making up for the lost revenue from not being able to book a day or two here and there, having holes in the schedule because people are locking in sites? If that's the case, how are you making extra money? It doesn't make any sense. So is the fee too high? Lots of campgrounds are charging $15, $30 more. Sometimes it's even nightly that they're charging this rate. Should they actually be charging something like $5? The problem is if they do that, more people will use this. So it's a game of managing how many people actually use it. Maybe some of them should charge more and hope that fewer and fewer people actually use the site lock fee. But the bigger problem with site lock fees is not about the cost. It's about how they're presented to you in some of the campground software systems. So imagine you go to a campground's website. A lot of you have done this, and you've gone through the process of booking your campsite. You see they have a map for you to choose your site from. You spend 15, 20 minutes going through the process of selecting a specific site. You're looking at pictures of that site. Maybe you're going on campground review websites to see who stayed in which site and whether they liked it. You're looking to see whether it's close to the bathhouse, whether it's close to the playground. Maybe you're looking at satellite images of it to see if it's close to your neighbor or further from your neighbor. You're looking to see what the length is. Is it the right length for your RV? Is it not? You go through this process, you spend a half hour booking your campsite, and at the very end of the reservation process, they say, would you like to spend an extra $25 to lock in your site? That's something that really ticks people off. Now, fees are part and parcel of the hospitality industry, and it's very frustrating to customers. But I think campgrounds need to realize that you may think that this fee is there as an option, and some customers pay it because they like that service, and some customers don't because they didn't want to choose a specific site, and that's the end of the story. That's not the end of the story. The end of the story is you're making a lot of people mad, and you're even causing some of them to turn around and go book somewhere else because they're so turned off by the fact that you're trying to charge them extra fees at the end. And let's not even go into all the other additional extra fees that you might be charging. So I get the need for campgrounds to be able to do this sort of Tetris of moving people around based around availability, based around the length of the site. You know, if a 20-foot RV wants to pick a 60-foot long site, well, they're going to pay a site lock fee. Otherwise, that campground needs to be able to move them around so they can park a bigger rig in that site. I get it. And I get that most of these campgrounds used to not allow you to select a site at all. And a lot of them still don't and don't have a site lock fee. So in my mind, sometimes I'm like, well, why do we care so much about this site lock fee? It's just an additional service. But when it's presented in a way that's tricking you, it's really, really bothersome. Campgrounds have been lagging forever on the idea of treating the visitor as a customer. The whole idea of customer service in general in the travel industry used to be a really big thing. Airlines used to really, really care about making sure you had a great experience. Hotels used to always clean your room every night. There's lots of that stuff going on in the travel industry, lots of different ways to lower costs and to raise revenue. And unfortunately, it's really hit the campground industry hard. And this is not just big corporate campgrounds. This is also a lot of the little guys doing the same stuff. Fortunately, a lot of the little guys and some of the big ones do a better job of presenting this to you. They do a better job of letting you know that this is just an option. It's not something important. What would be great is if you can go through the whole reservation process and at the end, not would you like to lock the site you picked in, but at the end, surprise, you can pay a few extra bucks if you want to pick your site. It's not a site lock fee. It's a site pick fee, right? Then you feel like you're actually getting a discount for not selecting your site. And if you want to go through the process of selecting your site, you can. Unfortunately, I'm sure a lot of data from these big software companies tells the campgrounds, do it this way and you're going to make some extra money. But fees should not be a way that places make extra money. They should be a way we can solve problems and make sure that other folks who don't want to utilize whatever the fee is for don't have to pay for it. Otherwise, it should just be included in the cost of the campsite. I'd love to know your thoughts on this issue. Again, we talked at length about all the different fees that campgrounds charge. I'm sure there's going to be some that surprise you in that episode of the RV Miles podcast over on the RV Miles podcast YouTube channel and on any podcast app. Thanks so much for being here. Hit the like button if you got something out of this video. Subscribe if you want more like this, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.